Hey, it's Friday night, the 17th of November. It's about 7:45. We're going to do a quick restart of the NGC series, beginning with NGC 1, since we completed the last 1,400 or so in the previous cycle. What you're looking at here, of course, is a pretty decent view of Messier 33. It will have an NGC number, however, it has probably somewhere around 1100. We're going to start tonight with NGC 1. I was just going to have a look at the triangle and galaxy just to make sure that we're well centered, and it is quite nicely positioned. So let's go have a look at NGC 1. Well, I guess I'm a little too late this evening charging up the battery after earlier experimentation. NGC 1 is being partially blocked, I do believe, by the roof try. However, that is a view of NGC 1. I'll give you some data on it, just in case we can get a good look at the other galaxies in the series. NGC 1 is a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 12.9, 1.7 by 1.2 arc minutes. Spiral with a lowercase b, 202 million light years distant, and it's almost 28 degrees, which discourages me a bit about the fact that we are now getting partially blocked by the roof try. So what I may do is make a leap to NGC 50 and go from there, and then we'll fill in this block later on. NGC 50 is a galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 12.4, 2.4 by 1.8 arc minute, football-shaped spiral, lenticular class O, 243 million light years distant. It is at -7 degrees outside the sky's middle third, but I do believe we are getting a decent view of it right there on the screen, with some sense of extensions, despite its football shape. NGC 51 is a galaxy in Andromeda, and it is being blocked. We're going to make a leap to NGC 100 for this series. NGC 100 is a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 13.3, large, 5.7 by 0.6 arc minutes, a classic edge-on spiral, 47 million light years distance, a class SC at plus 16.5 degrees, and yet it is quite visible right there on the screen. Very nice. Let's go on to our next study. NGC 101 is a galaxy in SCL. I'll have to remember what that is. Magnitude 12.8, 2.1 by 2 arc minutes, face-on spiral with a bar, 149 million light years distant, way down there at -32 degrees, and we are at almost hour 0, right ascension 23 and 54. NGC 102 is a galaxy in Cetus, the whale, magnitude 14, 1 by 0.7 arc minute, spiral of the lenticular class, but with a bar and a lowercase a, some 327 million light years distant, and puts it at about the size of our own Milky Way galaxy. I do believe the galaxy is present right there on the screen. We are at -14 degrees, and we are now, we're now at right ascension 02436. NGC 105 is a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 13.2, football shape 1.1 by 0.7 arc minutes, spiral lowercase ab, 231 million light years distant at plus almost 13 degrees in declination. NGC 106, a galaxy again in Pisces, fainter, magnitude 15.1, small, 0.9 by 0.7 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase cd, 273 million light years distance, and we're about -5 degrees in declination, and I do believe there's a galaxy right there. Not bad for 15th magnitude, if that's the case. South of NGC 106, and Pisces enters into Cetus, the whale. NGC 107's magnitude 16.9 by 0.6 arc minute, football shape, spiral with a lowercase bc, 279 million light years distance, and -8 degrees in declination. declination. I am seeing a bit of a fuzzy right there on the screen. Okay, we've jumped to NGC 100 series because we were starting to get blockages of the aperture overhead, close to overhead. We are very close to that now, even with NGC 108, a galaxy in Andromeda, brightish, magnitude 12.1, 2 by 1.6 arc-minute, spiral with a bar, lenticular, 216 million light years distant, and plus 29 degrees in declination. But I do believe we're seeing it on the screen in the expected location. NGC 109 is a galaxy in Andromeda again, magnitude 13.7, nearly face on, 1.1 by 1 arc-minute. So almost your perfect average surface brightness of 1 arc-minute, roundish. Spiral with a bar, lowercase a, 250 million light years distant. It's at almost plus 22 degrees in declination. We skipped a few further north, plus stars. This is NGC 112, galaxy in Andromeda, magnitude 13.5. A nice oblate 1 by 0.5 arc-minute spiral with a lowercase c, 290 million light years distant. It's at plus almost 32 degrees in declination. I do believe we are getting perhaps a slight amount of obstruction of the aperture lens. NGC 113 is another galaxy in Cetus, the whale, magnitude 13.5, football shape 1.4 by 1 arc-minute, lenticular spiral, class O, 194 million light years, about 2.5 degrees below the celestial equator. And we are almost halfway to the first hour of right ascension at 26 minutes. Not too far from NGC 113 in Cetus is galaxy NGC 114, magnitude 13.7, smaller than an arc-minute, 0.8 by 0.7, spiral with a bar, but lenticular, class O, 181 million light years distant, and it's at minus almost 2 degrees in declination. South again, NGC 115, a galaxy in Sculptor, SCL. Just recall that. Magnitude 12.9. Football actually oblately presented 1.9 by 0.9 arc-minute spiral with a bar in lowercase bc, 83 million light years distant, almost minus 34 degrees. Not too shabby for that far south in terms of the field of view. Back up to Cetus for NGC 116 galaxy, magnitude 14.5, sub 1 arc-minute, 0.8 by 0.4 oblately presented. It's a spiral with a lowercase, a, 341 million light years distant, probably a little smaller than our own Milky Way. It's at minus almost 8 degrees in declination. And something is creeping across the field of view right there, very slowly, updating about every 3 seconds and moving less than a single arc-minute. There's a little bit of irregularity to its motion. Now, we watch it and it suddenly takes off at a right angle. We will have imaged a UFO. Otherwise, it's probably just a satellite. The speed is regular and normal, although it does seem to be leaving a bit of a trail. So it could involve some form of propulsion, but I can't be sure about that. I'm going to go ahead and let this run until it exits the field of view, because it's always intriguing to pick up something unexpected when you're doing real-time imaging. Travel well, my friend, whatever you may be. NGC 117 is another galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 14.3, smallish, 0.7 by 0.4 arc-minute oblately presented, spiral with a lowercase a, 242 million light years distant. That probably puts it about 70,000 light years across. It's at plus 1, a little more than 1 degree in declination, not quite in the sky's middle third, which begins at about 15 degrees. NGC 118 is another galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 14.7 by 0.5 football aspected, compact galaxy, 502 million light years distant. That makes it probably about 110,000 light years in diameter, larger than our own galaxy, but significantly smaller than SCA 31. It's at minus almost 2 degrees in declination, so not too bad a look here. NGC 120 is another galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 13.4, oblately presented 1.5 by 0.6 arc minutes, suboblate, spiral with a bar, lenticular class O, 181 million light years distant. It's at minus 1.5 degrees in declination. Skipping over a few anomalous stars entered into the catalog, we're now at NGC 124, which isn't that far from 120. Galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 13, 1.4 by 0.8 arc minutes, spiral with lowercase c, 181 million light years distant. It's at minus almost 2 degrees declination. NGC 125 is a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 12.1, one of the brighter galaxies so far this evening, but pretty much face on at 1.8 by 1.6 arc minutes. This is spiral with a lowercase a and a ring, which means it's pretty much distributed some of its spiral extensions out, and they are trailing around the core of the galaxy in rotation. It's 240 million light years distant, plus 2, almost 3 degrees in declination. Just a few clicks from NGC 125 in Pisces is Galaxy 126 in Pisces. Magnitude 14.2, oblate 0.8 by 0.4 arc minutes, spiral with a bar, lenticular class, 191 million light years distant, almost plus 3 degrees declination. And we're now approaching the half-hour mark in right ascension. To click away from 125, 126 is 127, NGC, Galaxy in Pisces, fainter still, magnitude 15.3, oblately presented 0.8 by 0.5 arc minutes, spiral with lenticular class, 182 million light years distant, for a little bit further north than the last two galaxies. Well, I'm seeing kind of an Aegeon right there. That is not our galaxy, but it is a very nice looking galaxy. At NGC, Galaxy Group continues, and it is in fact that Aegeon galaxy, NGC 128. Brightest galaxy so far, magnitude 11.8, and as you might expect, nearly Aegeon presented, 2.8 by 0.9 arc minutes. So it's basically a 3 or a 4 to 1. So spiral with some peculiarities of the lenticular class, 187 million light years distant. And once again, we're heading a little further north on this one, approaching plus 3 degrees. Skipping over an open cluster in Cassiopeia too far north, we just made another little click, more of that galaxy cluster in Pisces. This one is NGC 130, magnitude 14.9, 0.7 by 0.4 arc minutes, lenticular spiral, 204 million light years distant. We still haven't quite gotten to plus 3 degrees in terms of declination. Down south again at NGC 131, that galaxy in SCL, and I cannot remember I did remember that name of that constellation. It'll come back to me. Magnitude 13.2, 1.8 by 0.6 arc minutes, a 3 to 1 aspect ratio, spiral with a bar, lowercase b, a mere 60 million light years distant. It is at a little more than minus 33 degrees, and I am seeing something in this region up here. Back up to Cetus from Sculptor, SCL. NGC 132 is a galaxy, magnitude 12.6, 1.9 by 1.5 arc minutes, spiral with a bar, lowercase bc, 240 million light years distant, makes this about the size of Andromeda Galaxy, 150,000 light years across. We are at plus 2 degrees, and we've just crossed the half-hour line in terms of right ascension. Back down into Sculpture with NGC 134 Galaxy, magnitude, the brightest of the evening, 10.4. Unfortunately, we are not going to get to appreciate it as much as we might like due to low sky position. Magnitude 10.4, large, 8.4 by 1.8 arc minutes, 71 million light years distant. It's at minus 33 degrees. But it is quite evident with extensions on the screen. I am impressed for that deep south. Very good look. Probably the faintest galaxy of the evening, NGC 135, is a galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 15.9, face on a half arc minute, 0.5 by 0.5. Merely attributed to be a spiral, 323 million light years distant, so it's probably about half the size of the Milky Way, maybe 50 to 60,000 light years in diameter. It's at minus 13, almost a half degrees in declination. NGC 137 is a galaxy in Pisces, magnitude 12.8, face on 1.3 by 1.3 lenticular spiral, 238 million light years distant, probably about the size of the Milky Way. It's at plus 10 degrees in declination. Heading a little further south in Pisces, we're at NGC 138, galaxy, magnitude 13.6, oblate 1.3 by 0.6 arc minutes, spiral to class A. It's 531 million light years distant. This baby is probably about 200,000 light years across, 25% larger than Messier 31, twice as large as our own galaxy. It is at plus 5 degrees in declination. NGC 138 had a neighbor, NGC 139, galaxy in Pisces, fainter, magnitude 14.3, 0.8 by 0.5 arc minutes, also hugely distant, 569 million light years, spiral with a bar, lowercase a, b, once again, plus 5 degrees in declination. Okay, we're going to be partially obstructed on this one. This NGC 140 is a galaxy in Andromeda, magnitude 13.2, 1.5 by 1.2 arc minutes, spiral with a bar and a ring, lowercase c as well, 290 million light years distant. It's at plus almost 31 degrees in declination. I hope we're seeing something of it on the screen, although I see stars. One of the fainter galaxies of the evening is NGC 141 in Pisces, magnitude 15.5, 0.8 by 0.6 arc minutes, spiral with some peculiarities, some 525 million light years distant, makes it a little bit smaller than Messier 31. It's at a little more than plus 5 degrees in declination. NGC 142 is a galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 13.8, 1.1 by 0.6 arc minutes. It's pretty oblately presented, spiral with a bar and lowercase b. 358 million light years distant, probably places it a little larger than our own Milky Way. However, it's at minus 22.5 degrees declination, pretty deep south for the Whale. NGC 142 has a neighbor in Cetus, NGC 143, galaxy, magnitude 14.4, pretty close to edge on, 1 by 0.2 arc minutes, some 350 million light years distant, makes it about the size of our own Milky Way. It's also pretty far south, minus 22.5 degrees in declination. I hope we can make it out somewhere on the screen. We seem to have encountered another galaxy group, this one in Cetus, not Pisces. NGC 144 is part of the 142, 3, and 4 series. Its magnitude 13.7, 0.78 by 0.7 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase c. 362 million light years distant, probably puts it a little smaller than our own Milky Way. It is also at minus 22.5 plus degrees. NGC 145 is another galaxy in Cetus, magnitude 12.7, 1.8 by 1.5 arc minutes, a spiral with a lowercase b and a d, capital B, bar and a d. 185 million light years distant, it's minus 5 degrees in declination. Back down into Sculptor, NGC 148 galaxy, magnitude 12.2, nicely aspected at 2 by 0.8 arc minutes, a spiral with a lowercase a mere 67 million light years distant, but almost minus 32 degrees in declination. Our last study in the NGC 100 series, which we skipped from 1 to 100 due to poor sky position vis-a-vis the observatory rooftop. We'll have to go back and cover 1 through and then 49 and 50 through 99. is NGC 149, Galaxy and Andromeda, magnitude 13.7, 1.2 by 0.7 arc minutes, lenticular spiral class O, 218 million light years distant, plus 31 degrees, and partially obstructed by the roof tribes. Okay, we're going to watch for our final view of the evening as Messier 33, the triangular galaxy, forms on the screen. I'm hoping we're going to get one of the better views we've had. I may reposition it so we can see the entirety of its spiralicity. I'm off angle with the display screen, and what I'm seeing has plenty of texture. There's a bright central core of about a magnitude 12. The core region's very expansive. The spiral arms have plenty of texture in them. It's a very good look, but frankly, I have no idea how it's going to turn out on the Handycam, because I changed the presentation angle and it doesn't seem to be darkening the screen enough, which means I may have to play with internal settings within. I've already played with the screen settings. I may have to play with the internal settings within the Rev 2 unit itself. But the view I'm getting off axis is very nice, and I'm hoping we're going to get something approximate to that when we actually put it on the screen. So let's not call this Carpe Noctem. I guess we're going to have to, because we've already lost Messier 3110, which I'd like to also get a view of, to the roof tribe. We are getting full aperture on a very vertical Messier 33 in Triangulum. It's a fabulous view from my point of view. Hopefully the camera will capture it, and let me see if I can't shift it down just a little bit as we watch. Hopefully it'll jump in the right direction. Nope. Okay. There we go. I shifted the core down to a little below mid-screen. Let's watch Messier 33 take form as the credits roll. And I say, Carpe Noctem.